History and mythology have a complicated relationship. Irish mythology and history are no exception to this. While mythology can offer clues to the past, when it becomes overpopularized, the glimpses of the past it may contain can be lost. In Ireland, this difficulty is accentuated because most Irish mythology is read through translated versions that lose important subtleties of the original, and more importantly, are read in contexts completely detached from those they are originally written in. Illustrative of this is the labelling of Irish mythology as Celtic rather than the more correct Gaelic. Added to this is the misuse of mythology created, or at least written down in a Christian context, to create accounts that are essentially fabrications. For example, in the medieval period, the Gaelic Irish, like most Europeans, attached classical or biblical accounts to their origin legends. The English claimed to have been descended from a Trojan called Brutus, thereby transforming themselves into the legitimate heirs of Rome in Elizabethan times, irrespective of their actual Saxon and Germanic origins. Likewise, the Gaelic Irish invented an Egyptian origin for themselves, tacking Scotia, the daughter of a pharaoh, onto their own origin legend. They were less successful than the English. Nevertheless, modern accounts of Scotia, the Egyptian princess, are easy to find, completely misinterpreting the original. Mythology is not history. However, when understood in its context, it is in itself a type of historical document. The problem is finding this context. Is it possible to properly understand the myths of a culture which was destroyed several centuries ago? To an extent it is. Indeed, South Kerry offers a way of understanding one particular part of Gaelic mythology, namely the Milesians and their arrival in Ireland, as exemplified in Lebor Gabála Érenn, and one of the most beautiful poems in Irish, the Song of Amergin. I should make a parenthesis here to acknowledge the work of the poet and writer Paddy Bush. When I moved to Iveragh, I came across an article of his on myth and landscape in the region, and then had the good fortune to hear him talk on a number of occasions, especially about the Milesians. It was he who first drew my attention to the Song of Amergin and its strong links with Ballinskelligs Bay, helping me start on a very interesting journey. In The White Goddess, the poet Robert Graves praises the Song of Amergin, stating that English poetic education should begin with it. Although his version of the poem is interesting, it misses a lot of the power and beauty of the original. Thomas Kinsella's and Paddy Bush's versions are far better. Inexplicably, the poem is neglected in the Irish curriculum for schools, or at least it was when I was in secondary school. Basically, the poem and the story of the Milesians, or the Sons of Mill, are the origin myth of the Gaelic people, telling how they arrived in Ireland and their struggles with the Tuatha Dé Danann. The poem is found in Lebor Gabála Érenn, known as the Book of Conquests, but more accurately, the Book of the Taking of Ireland. Though there are various other accounts of the Milesians, something to be expected, as they were the mythological ancestors of the Gaelic Irish. It is hard to summarise the myth of the arrival of the Milesians in Ireland due to its complexity and the sheer number of names it contains. Basically, it was the first Gaelic chieftain to see Ireland from the top of a tower in present-day Galicia. He sailed to Ireland but was killed, leading to the sons of his brother Mill Spáine invading Ireland to avenge his death. After some difficulties, the Milesians, or the Gael, landed at a place they would call Inbhar Scéine, named after Scéine, wife of Amergin, who died during the landing. Amergin was one of the sons of Mill, and from the account in Lebor Gabála Érenn, he comes across as the most important of them. He was an olive, or a mixture of wise man, poet, bard and judge. In Keating's account, he also appears as a warrior, taking part in the battles between the Gael and the Tuatha Dé Danann. Many call him a druid, though this is not quite correct, and is also not a good word to use in the discussion of Gaelic mythology, as it is too laden with preconceived ideas that do not apply to Gaelic Ireland. Despite the use of magical trickery against the Milesians, including making where they were landing look like a pig or a hog. They managed to reach land, albeit with losses, including Amergin's wife and some of his brothers. On landing, Amergin recited a poem which has become known as the Song of Amergin. Shortly after, there were some battles with Tuatha in which the Milesians were victorious. However, when they reached the capital of Ireland, Tara, a truce was agreed in which the Gael agreed to leave Ireland for 3 days, remaining 9 ways space from the land. After doing this, the Tuatha used their power to conjure up a storm, but Amergin calmed this with another verse. Following this, the Milesians returned to Ireland and took possession of it, dividing it between 2 of Mil's sons, Eiramon in the north and Inbhar in the south, with Amergin remaining as an impartial judge. This division will be very important in Gaelic Ireland in the future. The other 5 of Mil's sons died during the invasion. In some accounts, the Tuatha were left for the other world of Ireland. Tacked onto this tale was an account of the wanderings of the Gaelic people, mirroring the tribulations of the Israelites, and thereby anchoring the Gaelic origin legend in the Bible. Place names were important in Gaelic Ireland, something which fortunately continues in the present. Often it seems that in an Irish-speaking area, every rock has a name, many of which offer fascinating insights into the past. Drawing on this tradition, Paddy Bush convincingly ties in the landscapes of Ballinskelligs Bay to the Song of Amergin and the arrival of the Milesians, since another name for the bay in Irish is actually Inbhar Scéine, in other words, where they are supposed to have landed. Several other place names in the area can be related to the Milesians, but more interestingly, as it points to an intersection between history and mythology, various archaeological monuments or geographical features in the area are also linked to them. The geographical features include, as well as Ballinskelligs Bay, Loch Corran, Loch Luiach or Loch Luidech in Irish, named after Lugad, son of It, Cianmwica or Illanwica, Hog's Head and Hog's Island, Slieve and Fioller, Eagle Mountain, and Carrigena, named after Eireann, son of Mil, who died from a fall in a ship. Skellig Michael, or Skellig Michael, is also mentioned as being the resting place of Eir, another of the sons of Mil. What is interesting in relation to archaeological monuments linked to the Milesians is how the Gaelic people tied their origin legend to much older tombs and stone alignments. Most striking in this regard are the 2 stone rows on the east and west of Ballinskelligs Bay. The better known of these is Eightercua, as it is more accessible and easily visible when driving on the Ring of Kerry Road, or the N70. This is said to be the grave of Scéine, wife of Amergin. It is a very striking place, majestic and beautiful, overlooking both lake and sea. It is also aligned with the setting sun on the winter solstice, marking, in Amergin's own words in the Song of Amergin, the place of the sun's descent. Here, I'm drawing directly on Paddy Bush. On the other side of the bay is another stone row, Kildrelig. Smaller than Eitercua, but still beautiful. It has a lunar alignment and is said to mark the grave of Eireann, after whom Carrigena is named. Finally, there is Basilicaine Dolmen, said to be the burial place of Fiel, who died after seeing her husband bathing naked in the lake named after him in Irish. Possibly, other megalithic tombs in the region were associated with the Milesians, but some of these have been destroyed, and in others, these mythological associations lost. In the late 16th and 17th centuries, the Gaelic world was destroyed. Much was lost in this tumultuous period, especially the keys to understanding the high culture of Gaelic poetry and mythology. More has been lost in the Celticization of Gaelic Ireland, something that has taken place essentially in the English language, or in translations from English. Fortunately, much has survived, and thanks to the internet, it is possible to find the originals of Gaelic mythology and indeed reasonable translations. In certain areas, it's also possible, by scratching, by looking among the history, literature, myths and place names, to uncover certain things. In South Kerry, this is especially possible. Ballinskelligs Bay, Inbhar Scéine, can be identified with the arrival of the Milesians, the ancestors of the Gaelic Irish, while old tombs and stone rows in the area of the bay are made the resting place of Milesian nobles. Furthermore, somewhere near the western end of Iveragh is Teach Dún, the House of Donn. Donn was another of the sons of Mill and drowned when his ship sank. However, he is also said to have been the Lord of the Dead of the Gaelic Irish, whose souls went to his house after their death. Teach Dún is identified with Bull Rock off Thursday Island at the end of Beara, not that far from Inbhar Scéine. South Kerry, and particularly the Ballinskelligs Waterville region, is fortunate to have such close connections with the founding mythology of Gaelic Ireland. Connections that can be witnessed in the beautiful Eightercua sculpture in Waterville. However, I wonder do those who look at or walk past this sculpture fully realize the deep ties to the past that it expresses.